let's talk about functional groups. Okay. Basically, in organic compounds, you're going to have functional groups. These are things that sort of hang off the carbon. So additional accessories, if you will, chemical accessories, if you want to think of them like that. And the functional groups really determine what kind of interactions those molecules are going to have. Here's just some functional groups. So basically, functional groups play a particular role during chemical reactions. And once you get into biological molecules, they usually have more than one functional group, and that's what causes the structure versus the function. So the functional, see what I did there? Functional groups sort of determines the function of those molecules. Okay, now we're going to talk about macromolecules. So essentially, there are three main categories that we're going to talk about. They are carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acids. Macro, large molecules. So these are going to start out small, and we're going to add to them, and they're going to become macromolecules. So macromolecules, or polymers, many polymers. So polymers are made by stringing together many smaller molecules called monomers. One monomers. So you have, this is a monomer. It's a carbon with some hydrogens and an oxygen on it, and it's going to link together, and it's going to make a longer polymer. So a polymer consists of a bunch of monomers. Polymer, monomer. How does it do this? With what's called a dehydration reaction. Just what it says. When you're dehydrated, you are losing water. That's exactly what the dehydration reaction does. It loses water. This hydrogen and this hydrogen and this oxygen make a water. The water comes off this end, and then this can attach to this, and that's how you get a polymer. You get a polymer by a dehydration reaction. You're losing water. That is a dehydration reaction. Here's another one. Here's your oxygen, hydrogen, hydrogen, H2O. On the end, it's the H2O is going to come off. You're going to lose water, and you're going to put this monomer on the end here. The organisms obviously have to break down macromolecules back into monomers. Digestion does this. This is you break down meat and spaghetti and sugar in your stomach. So your digestion breaks down macromolecules to make monomers back available for your cells. What does this? Hydrolysis. This adds a water. You're going to put the water back together, and you're going to break that bond. It's the reverse of a dehydration reaction. We will let the chemistry man tell you.
Most biological molecules are very large and are built by assembling small molecules, or monomers, into long chains. The resulting molecules are called macromolecules, or polymers. A process of linking monomers, called dehydration synthesis, involves the removal of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom to form water. One way this might happen is diagrammed here, where several generic monomers are shown with OH groups that could be used for linking. The animation illustrates the joining together of monomers by dehydration synthesis, catalyzed by a polymerase enzyme.
So, again, if we want to break them down, the water gets added, and it breaks this bond, and you get a breaking down of a polymer back into a monomer, into one. This is two, but that's what it would do, is break it down back into one. Okay, we're going to talk about four large biological molecules. Carbohydrates, so spaghetti, bread, whatever. Lipids, fats, oils, butters. Proteins, these are going to be meats, things that you eat, that's protein. And the proteins are actually going to break down into nucleic acids. So we're going to talk about all of those. Carbohydrates, these are sugars of polymers and polymers of sugar. So basically it's sugar and polymers of sugar. So we call the little things sugars, even though they're not the table sugar like you think of. The table sugar is a glucose sugar and a fructose sugar come together to make what we call table sugar or sucrose. But again, it's a monomer, and a monomer that comes together to make a polymer. And really, this is going to be a lot longer. The long starch molecules are going to be in spaghetti and bread, but they start out as glucose and fructose to make table sugar. Some of the larger carbohydrates are, again, carbohydrates are a source of your daily energy, the raw materials for manufacturing other kinds of compounds. So essentially, when you eat a lot of starch, what your body will do is it'll break that down into glucose, and your insulin will take care of that. And then what you don't use, it'll put into glycagon, what I call the starch flour of storage, and it's just going to store those starch molecules somewhere in your body. In plants, carbohydrates serve as a building material for much of the plant's body. So here's glycogen in a turkey muscle, so that's what I have, starch flour of storage. Here's glucose made from broccoli stems, and here's potato starch. This is how each one of those carbohydrates look. So again, when they're one, we actually call it a monosaccharide. I'm going to move up here. So this is a monomer. This is a monosaccharide. This is a monosaccharide. So the monomers of sugars are called monosaccharides. So this is a monosaccharide or a monomer of sugar. Or monomers of carbohydrates, the larger molecule. Some examples are glucose in sports drinks and fructose found in fruit. Both of these simple sugars are also in honey, so that's your fructose. Here's monosaccharides, the simple sugar. So here's the sugar in honey, and you've got a glucose and a fructose. So what I want to talk to you about is, look at this, C6H12O6. C6H12O6. It's the same chemical formula. It just is arranged differently. It is what's called an isomer. So your hands are isomers, right? They're the same, but you have a left hand and a right hand, right? They are the same 5 fingers, but one is like a mirror image of the other. I know this is gross, but if you found just my right hand, you would know it was a right hand, right? You can't make your right hand into your left hand. They look different the way they're attached. You couldn't just find a hand and be like, is this a left hand or a right hand? It's possible that I watched too much CSI, but I'm just saying, you would know. If you have a baseball glove, right? You have a left-handed and a right-handed baseball glove because your right and left hands do things differently. That's what an isomer is. It's like your hands. So glucose and fructose are isomers. They have the same chemical composition, C6H12O6, but they're just arranged a little bit differently. Here's the bigger version of that, C6H12O6, and here's just a picture to make you want honey. Glucose and fructose are isomers, molecules that have the same molecular formula but different structures. Again, C6H12O6 for both of those. Here is a common example. This is a drug, a common drug used. It is also an isomer.
3 types of isomers are structural isomers, which differ in the covalent partnerships between their atoms, geometric isomers, which vary in arrangement of atoms around a double bond, enantiomers, or stereoisomers, which are molecules that are mirror images of each other, like left and right hands.
So monosaccharides are glucose, and they work for cellular fuel, and they form rings. So they tend to form these ring structures. We don't actually mark all the carbons. We'll just usually put where that is. So you can take this and make it into a ring structure. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you do that. A disaccharide is a double sugar constructed by 2 monomers. So di, 2 saccharides. Monosaccharide, 1 makes 2 disaccharides, 2. Okay.